Everyone, thank you for joining the Binghamton City Council work session, 6 p.m., Monday, 30 October 2023. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. The clerk will call the roll. Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Rosinetti. Present. Councilwoman Riley is absent. Councilmember Friedman.
Present.
Councilman Burns is absent. Councilman Strawn is absent. Councilman Scanlon. And President Scringy.
Present.
That's 4 here, 3 absent. Riley, Burns, and Strawn.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Quorum is present. At this time, I'd like to ask Chief Sikorsky to join us regarding RL 23-225. Evening, Chief. How are you? Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. The floor is yours, sir.
This is a request council approve us accepting a matching grant. Every bulletproof vests have to be replaced every 5 years. And this is the matching grant for the ones that have to be replaced this year. So we pay 17 and change, and the federal government pays 17 and change.
Thank you, Chief, very much. Council discussion. Seeing none. Chief, thank you very much. Appreciate you. Thank you, Chief. This time, I'd like to ask Chief Gardner to join us regarding RL 23-228. How you doing, Chief?
Good. How are you, Councilman?
Good. Thank you for joining us, Chief. The floor is yours, sir.
Nice day today, right?
Oh, yeah. Gotta love the rain.
This is an ordinance to amend the 2023 general fund budget to increase the fire department uniforms line by $25,000 and decrease the personnel line by the same amount of money. And this is to fund our new recruits to pay for their turnout gear, which is about almost $40,000. This is what we do normally to fund that year.
Yeah, I was going to say, Chief, I saw probationary there. So those are the new recruits that are coming into your department, right?
Right.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it. Council discussion. Councilwoman Freeman.
Thank you, President Scringy. Hi, Chief. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
Good. So this is, you said for the probationary officers, are they going to need more equipment once they become fully
No, they're
like non-probationary?
Yeah, they get a clothing allowance, so they buy some of the clothing on their own, and this is just, it's kind of a special thing we do every year. Last year we didn't because we had ARPA funds, but the years past, what we'd use is the money from an unfilled position. So the money's just sitting there in a personnel line not being spent. So rather than increase the budget lines, we just kind of shift that money over.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Scanlon.
Chief, you mentioned turnout gear. I think I know what it is, but can you explain what that is, please?
It is the outerwear that the firefighters wear into structural fires, and it consists of a coat, pants, special boots, gloves, helmet, and the hoods, Nomex hoods that they wear into the helmets. And so it's just a protective layer, and it's made out of Nomex or some other fire retardant.
So you mentioned special fire, so explain that. What's it mean?
Special?
Did you say special fires?
Oh, no. Structure fires.
Structure fire.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
They wear it most, they go out and wear it in MVAs, just to protect themselves.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Chief, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. This time, I'd like to ask Steve Carson from the Planning Department to join us, please, regarding RLs 23, 226, and 227. Steve, evening. How are you?
Doing all right. How are you guys doing?
Awesome. Thank you for joining us. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you for having me. So these are two related RLs. The way we do budgeting for CDBG and home is we have to make an estimate of the amount of program income we think we're going to get in a year, and we put that into the budget. So this is essentially a way of fixing and correcting for the either over or under budget. In this case, 23,226 of the CDBG money came in less than we expected, and by an amount equivalent to the home amount that went over. So both of these are separate RLs, but they're related in that regard. So this is just an adjustment to accommodate and update the budget to reflect the reality of the situation.
Thank you, Steve, very much. Council discussion. Councilwoman Freeman.
Thank you, President Scringy. Hi, Steve. How are you?
Hi.
I am wondering if you could explain what these receipts actually are.
So I couldn't tell you offhand each and every separate one, but in
Right.
general, our CDBG and home, well, CDBG receipts are what the city gets when someone who received money to improve their home or to purchase a home then sells the home years later. We don't require monthly or even yearly paybacks. It's just a lien on the property that's taken care of when the property is transferred. So each one of those is a separate situation where, and a lot of times it's someone passed away and then the family sells the property, but not always. It's some people just moving. So those are checks that come in to sort of get that mortgage cleared off so the property can have a clean sale. Home is the same way because we also use home money for rehab, but then in addition to homes that we rehabbed, it also includes various CHODO activities, which are community housing development organizations like First Ward Action Council and agencies like that. And in some cases in the past, we've had them pay, or some CHODOs pay either an annual or even a monthly payment schedule to pay us back. So it can involve both of those kinds of things.
Okay, so each of these lines are a separate.
A separate
Home.
check that we got that we put in the bank, and that's reflecting there.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Steve, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Just for the record, our colleagues, Councilwoman Riley and Councilman Burns have joined us. Thank you for being with us. This time, I'd like to ask our city purchaser, Bernice Griffiths, to join us, please. Bernice, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Thank you for joining us. Floor is yours, ma'am.
So this is a legislation to enter into an agreement with Pete Popovic for project management services for upcoming projects at Marabito Stadium. And this is for $35,000, which will take us through April 2024.
Awesome. Thank you, Bernice. Council discussion? Seeing none. Bernice, thank you very much. Appreciate you. This time I'd like to ask Head of City Parks, Pat McGinnis, to join us, please. Evening, Pat. How are you?
Good. How about you?
Good to see you, my friend. The floor is yours, sir.
The first one is RL 23-231. I have it asked to be expedited so the Broome County Legislature can approve in December. This is just to accept money from the Broome County Office for Aging to fund the salary of one recreation leader at the senior center. This was proposed in the budget for 2024. So this is just the formality of accepting the money.
Awesome. Thank you, Pat. And Pat, just really quickly on the expedition, is that just to align up with the county ledges meeting that might be
Yes.
coming up? Okay.
Yep. It's so they can get it on for their December meeting.
Thank you, Pat. Council discussion? Councilwoman Freeman.
Thank you, President Scringy. Hi, Pat. How are you?
Good. How about you?
Good. So if you can refresh my memory, I know that this position, so I'm looking at my budget book and the notes I took. And this position was paid through Broome County, but now I thought that we were now paying for this position.
So the position was a county employee. It'll become a city employee and then they reimburse us the salary for the position.
Oh, okay. So then why is it budgeted for in the city budget?
Because we actually write the paycheck, so we had to reflect it in the budget, even though it's paid back to the city by Broome County.
Okay, that makes sense. I had another question. So in this contract, there are some things like wages and benefits and insurance that say the center shall pay or the center shall supply. Where is that money coming from?
That would be out, so when it says center, it should say city.
Okay,
Because we're not a separate standalone. This contract was a copy and paste from them from another facility they do the same thing at, so that would probably be updated on the final signed.
okay. And then, so in that case, where is that funding?
That would be where all the other funding for fringe benefits come from. So like same as my position and the recreation positions out of our office.
Okay,
Those fringes, I think, probably come out of the finance budget.
okay. Those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Is there any other discussion? Pat, please continue.
All right, next one, 23-229. This is just to accept a grant from the Dick's Sporting Goods, Sports Matter Foundation for $7,500. It's a upfront, no match grant, that we can use for sports equipment and program enhancements.
Thank you, Pat. Council discussion? Seeing none?
Very good.
Thank you, Pat.
And then the last one is talked about before, but it is our budget transfer to pay for chlorine costs for the year. Instead of doing this a bunch of times, I waited for the swimming pools to close for the year, got all the bills in order, and we're doing one big transfer instead of doing one every month.
Thank you, Pat. Council discussion? Seeing none? Pat, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Appreciate you. This time I'd like to ask the Head of Economic Development, Sarah Close, to please join us. Evening, Sarah. How are you? Good. Thank you so much for joining us. Floor is yours, ma'am. Always, always. Thank you, Sarah. Council discussion? Councilwoman Reed.
Thank you, President Scrungy. Hi, Sarah. How are you? Good. Is this a revolving loan? And if not, it's not. Okay. I see. So it's the same except without the job creation part of it? Oh, okay, gotcha. Thank you.
I'm gonna steal that. Lowercase r. That was a good one. Thank you, Councilwoman. Good question. Any other questions? Sarah, please continue. Thank you, Sarah. Council discussion? Councilwoman Freeman.
Thank you, President Scringy. Okay, I was a little bit confused by the math of this. So I was wondering if you could help me understand that. So it says total project cost 5,700, total amount of grant 4,000. You said that was from Broome County. Okay, but then it appears that there are two separate grant applications, both for $5,700. Okay, so it's not, or I should say the total is 5,700. It's not 57 and 57. Okay. I see. Okay, so it's broken, right. Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any other discussion? Sarah, thank you very much. Appreciate you. At this time, I'd like to ask Deputy Mayor Hyman to please join us regarding RL 23-235. Evening, Megan. How are you?
I'm well, Mr. President. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Thank you for joining us. Floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. RL 23-235. This is to amend the 2023 sewer fund for additional legal expenses related to the ongoing litigation at the joint sewage treatment plant.
Thank you. I obviously want to present an opportunity for discussion, but I'm going to turn to court counsel for a second. Is this something that needs executive session for discussion purposes?
Going to discuss the litigation, yes, but if it's just sort of defining, we have outside legal counsel representing us, representing actually us and Johnson City in the ongoing litigation about, well, we all know what it's about. And so, we believe that it's proper for this money to come out of the sewer plans budget because they have a line for that, rather than the city paying for it out of it. Since it's shared expense of the owner.
Thank you, Corp Counsel. So I guess I will ask, does anyone have a question that is outside the lines of those logistics? Is that it? Yes, Councilwoman Riley? You have a question only concerning those logistics or something else? Councilwoman Riley?
Thank you, Council President. Again, it fits in line with what we are able to discuss publicly because typically when we look at our budget, we do encumber additional expenses for ongoing legal fees. This is requesting an amendment without a total estimate, which I don't think.
Well, we don't know what the total legal fees are going to be. That litigation's ongoing. This is basically allowing us to use and to forward those bills to the joint sewer facility for payment.
So we're not creating an additional line as this.
I believe
So-
there's an existing line in their budget for this purpose.
Okay, because we do have amount and amendments. So I'm assuming that what's in the blue section is what we're asking to cover the request.
I suspect that those numbers are for service that have already been rendered.
That is my understanding that these are existing budget lines. We're not looking to create any new ones.
Okay, so how can, because if you read the legislation, it does say to be charged to users. And our constituents are reading this and saying, well, what is the total? And I know we are the users, the city, and you did explain that it will be divided equally among Johnson City and Binghamton, but
It-
right now,
The specific dollar figure is 25,000.
okay, well, is that on here?
It is the very far left column in that budget transfer sheet. The top line
Right.
says
Oh, that's what I
25,000.
said in the blue, and you
Yes.
all said it had already been expended.
No, yes, but that's the expense that we are paying. What I meant is it's already been charged to us.
Okay,
It's
so
for
we're
services
not
rendered.
cushioning.
Yeah.
Or moving funds for an additional fee that may come later. That's not what we're doing.
I'm
We've
not sure
already
what that-
received a bill
Yes,
and we owe this amount already.
that I'm not prepared to answer.
Okay,
I
okay.
do not know.
Thank you.
And I wouldn't
Thank,
want to give you better.
thank you. But we may see future legislation asking for additional transfers because it's an ongoing process.
It is an ongoing process, yes. There'll
Thank
be
you.
additional.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank
That
you.
concludes my question.
Thank you, Council. Any other discussion? Councilwoman Fruit.
Thank you, President Scrungy. So I guess my question is a follow-up to Councilwoman Riley's question. So it says to be charged to users, and so does that, are our constituents going to see this reflected in their sewer rates? It's a sewer rents here.
Sewer rents and sewer rates are kind of the same thing.
Okay,
So
will this be reflected in the sewer rates for the ratepayers?
my understanding is that there are already an existing budget line that is fully funded in the sewer plant, so it only if it exceeds that budget line it would change the proposed rates going forward. That's my
I
understanding.
see.
That's my understanding too. And further, I think the use of the word users in this actually refers to the municipality.
Right.
So as I think Brian mentioned, this will be an expense that it is split among the different municipalities. And I believe that's what this is referring to when it says to be charged to users.
Right.
If there's a recovery, that would also be split among the users because they've been paying for it.
Right. Okay. No, so that makes sense. Right. I understand the users are the municipalities, but then the sewer rent, I wasn't sure if that would be reflected in the rates. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Riley.
Thank you. And again, just for further clarification, the attorneys that we've hired or contracted with are the same attorneys that it's a continuance. Okay, so this is not a new entity we're contracting with and establishing a new relationship. So it's a bill for services rendered and it still relates to the previous discussion. And your mic is, I don't think your mic is not on. I don't.
But it'll also reflect bills that will be coming in the past and then going into the future.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Deputy Mayor, thank you very much.
Thank you.
This time, I'd say join us, but Madam Clerk is already with us. Turn to her regarding RL 23-236. Floor is yours, ma'am.
So this is going to be to amend chapter 327 regarding the outdoor cafe permits. This year, the Economic Development Department has been working with the businesses to do their outdoor cafes. They have to go through the planning process and they have to go through their office as well to go through the SLA requirements that were changed this year. So we're kind of just updating the code to make sure that they are allowed to send out the approval.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Council discussion. All right, seeing none, thank you, Madam. Oh, Councilman Burns, my apologies, please.
So now that everybody's going outside for so this is our planning department is going to okay their building of their cafes. Which before, during COVID, people were just putting their tables and chairs out there and doing what they'd like. So now it's going to be approved, so it's better aesthetic look for the city.
It was technically supposed to go through basically the process of how it used to go was it would come to our department and then we would send it to planning. They would make sure the space is correct and then it would come back to us to approve it.
I see.
So we're kind of taking us out of it so then they can just work right with them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Freeman.
Thank you, President Fungi. How are you, Janine? So I see on page 57, there's some red font here about non-contiguous municipal public space. So that looks like it was added, but that is not. Can you explain why that seems to have been changed as well?
That was like an add-on of me and Sarah both kind of worked on this. So then she added that as well. So instead of going back through and changing everything, I just added it.
Okay, gotcha. And
it's like a reprint of like the first few pages.
Okay.
Mhm.
I see. Right, because everything else was clearly just changed from city clerk to economic development. Okay, so this is I guess I don't know why I was having trouble picturing what this means. This is kind of like the sidewalk space in front of a business. Okay, to allow for outdoor seating in
Yes.
that area as
Yep.
well. Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Riley.
Thank you, Council President. How are you? Good. Okay. So similar to Councilmember Friedman's question, did we clearly identify the front, behind, side of the licensed premises that are also, I mean, this language here, I don't think is clearly outlined as such anywhere else in this this ordinance. And the reason I ask is because if we think about some of the requests we've received to purchase side lots or spaces that are throwaways or alleys, I will say, those were not, again, they wouldn't be purchasing or seeking to purchase those plots of land if it were permissible to use for their business. So I'm asking, what prompted this language specifically? Because again, it's a little bit different from what was outlined. Before it was the permits and the use of the space, and maybe I may have missed it, so that's why I want to know. It was the space that the property or the business owns.
This is like to extend onto
Right, to those
city
sur-
property.
Right.
Yeah.
So for example,
Mhm.
we received legislation to buy a plot of land outside of the door that extended in the pictures to the other parcel
Mhm.
owners right of way. Now, if they say they want to put a picnic table there, they have free use and right and privilege to that city area, regardless of the ownership. Correct?
Uh, Not what you're asking.
Okay. So say I own this space.
Mhm.
The city owns that space in the middle of this, my building. This is my building, this table. I come to city council and say, I want to buy all of this space up into Burns and Scanlon, right?
Mhm.
Because it's not mine. It's open. It's the city. I want to build on it to expand my ownership, expand the space for my business. You're evaluating this. Scanlon is thinking, okay, I don't want Councilwoman Riley to have this because what if I want to put a poster board in the middle of the space? Just say there's something contentious. However, while we're deliberating, I come and obtain a permit for a cafe.
Mhm.
I can now, based upon this language, put my tables there, regardless of the outcome of my pursuit to purchase this shared space.
That's when it would go through like COD and the planning department.
Oh, so it's either or?
It goes through both if it's a new outdoor cafe.
Okay.
They have to make sure the planning department and or COD, if it's a new one, that goes through COD as well.
Okay.
Mhm.
Only if it's new.
I believe so. If it's an existing one and they're not changing the layout of the outdoor cafe, it just has to go through planning to make sure that they're in the same spot.
Okay. And planning can give me authorization to put my patio furniture all the way up until Burns and Scanlon's desk.
I think there has to be some sort of right of way. I think that's why it's part of planning so that they make sure that there's still sidewalk to be walked on.
Okay, for the safety of our
Right.
walking
Yeah.
residents.
And that's
Okay.
why we're kind of changing it to them anyway, because as the clerk, I don't know what
Right. Which make,
You know
look,
what I mean?
I completely understand the other changes. But when you see large sections of text inserted without some type of connection, you wonder what prompted that change.
I'm not, I don't have any idea, but just my reading of that is, I think it's the third line of the two nearest adjacent properties. I think what they're saying is that if I have an outdoor cafe, my neighboring property doesn't mind if I use their property. I can expand my outdoor cafe onto the neighboring adjacent properties going on either direction. If I get, you're obviously going to need permission from those people because we can't tell you can use the sidewalk in front of this property. But it does allow for there's some properties downtown that the same owner owns 3 or 4 parcels in a row. One of them's a restaurant. They want to give permission to have a cafe on that parcel where the restaurant is and then on either side of that parcel. This would allow them to do that. In that public between the curb and this, if as long as they meet the other requirements. So if Salsters were to allow them,
That's what-
this would be the adjacent for, they could allow to have the cafe in that area.
Right, yeah. Because it's gone past
And it just
the
also,
former and it's gone in.
it
front of
allows it to do 2 adjacent parcels, but like it puts a limit on it. So they're not picking up the whole block with one
Okay.
permit. So it gives some flexibility.
but they might be able to put it in the alley. If there is suitable space. I mean, who is the determiner? You know, who says, I mean, someone's going to go out and,
Well, the planning department will actually look at the site plan and they look at the requirements for
Okay.
what's needed for a site plan and make sure that that's met before they can approve it. So basically, there has to be at least a 5 foot right of way for people, the pedestrians to walk through. There has to be room to put the tables that they're saying. It has to be a scaled drawing so that there's
So
safety.
planning will look at that site plan, obviously, before they make that determination.
Yes.
Yeah.
okay, thank you. That clarifies it for me.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Scanlon.
I was just gonna say, the owner of the property is gonna determine if you can use this property, whether it's the city or a adjacent building. You could ask permission to use it, I assume, and that would work.
Right.
As long as the owner of the property, whether it's whoever owns the property, agrees to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Any other discussion? Thank you, Madam Clerk. As an aside, Councilwoman Riley, I heard Councilman Burns was going 50-50 on that placard that Councilman Scanlon wanted to put up, so I'd be careful. Remember the big poster you were talking about with Councilman Burns wants to go half and half on it. So they're both trying to block you. I'd be careful. Watch out for
Per
these two.
Scanlon, he said, if I tell them that someone says it's okay, they can move forward. So I'll just verbally say that it's okay and allow planning to deal with it.
You got their reaction, right? Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, really quickly before we head over to pending legislation, just gonna give the floor for a moment to Corp Counsel Brian, just for a quick follow-up on a past RL.
I had a brief meeting this afternoon with Mr. Shager, the comptrollers, and he informed me that in the legislation we drafted for you last week regarding transfer funds into my budget, or the corp council budget, not my budget, but you understand what I'm saying. I take ownership of it, but it's not mine. There was we sent it to for some reason we gave the line, and I should have caught this, that is for settling cases. And that's not where it was supposed to go. We came to you and represented that it was going to the line for paying for outside counsel. So I will send you an email. I'll send it to President Scaringi and to everybody asking that there was a clerical error. He just simply put down the wrong budget line. It should all go to the line used to pay outside counsel, and the $10,000 or the $20,000 should be going to. We're trying to establish a separate line simply for doing process of service, so that going forward in years to come, we can sort of track that expense so we know how to budget for it on an annual basis. So I will send that to you in an email and ask that you consent to that being that was a clerical error on my part. I should have seen that and assisted the clerk in drafting that, but we didn't. So I just wanted to give you a heads up tonight. You'll probably be receiving an email about that tomorrow.
Thank you, sir. Any discussion on that? Any discussion for the clerk's office regarding pending legislation? Madam Clerk, anything?
We just have one piece and we also have a public hearing to go along with it.
Thank you. Deputy Clerk? Corp Counsel?
I have nothing further.
Anything in the belly of anyone today? Public hearing, I'm sorry. Councilwoman Riley, my apologies.
You for this opportunity. I just want to shout out not Corp Counsel, but shout out Corp Counsel anyway. But city clerks, the clerks for always coming through when we need some things at the last minute. So kudos to them. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Couldn't agree more. Anything else? Motion to adjourn? Do I have a
Second.
Motion by Councilman Scanlon, seconded by Councilwoman Riley. We are adjourned.